I've been covering PS5 versus PS5 Pro extensively on my channel. I tested this thing quite a bit, tested a lot of games during the last few months. I didn't want to do this review 2 days after using the PS5 Pro like a lot of other channels. I wanted to really take my time before I did a full review. So let's talk about my final thoughts on the PS5 Pro. We'll cover everything from the price to the graphics, the performance, and a few other interesting little facts. Starting with perhaps the most controversial point, the price. In the US, it's $700, so $250 more than the base digital console. But around the world, the difference is even more staggering. In the UK, for example, it's £700, so £310 more than a Slim. The rest of Europe pays €800, so a €320 premium. My fellow Canadians end up paying over $1,000 after taxes. Other countries like India don't have to worry about the price because PS5 Pro isn't even launched there yet. Now, these differences are regular MSRP. The thing is, the PS5 Slim's now getting sales. During Black Friday, it was $380 for a Slim digital, and it came with a game. That makes the Pro look even more expensive. So can it deliver some value for that extra cash? It's gonna come down to each person's own opinion here, and maybe down to how much money you have to throw around. The best thing about the Pro might be its larger 2TB internal SSD that lets you install a whole lot of games. On my 1TB Slim, I installed 12 games. On the 2TB Pro, I downloaded the same 12 games plus another 12. So total 24. That should be enough games at the same time for 90% of gamers. I have a good mix here as well, with some being fairly large in size. But $250 for one extra terabyte, that's a bit steep. You can just buy a Slim, spend $90 and call it a day with the extra terabyte. But the Pro does deliver more value. Sony isn't advertising this, but the Pro loads up slightly faster. And by slightly, I mean really minor. Spider-Man 2 goes from dashboard to continue game about 2 seconds faster. A lot of other games show a similar trend, just a few seconds faster on the Pro. Hey, it's not much, but still, faster is faster. What most people care about the most when they buy the most expensive and most powerful PlayStation is better graphics, better visuals, and sharper image quality. There is a PS5 Pro Enhanced list of games which seems to be extensive and continues to grow. How much better a game looks on the Pro really comes down to how much effort each developer puts into their title. The thing is, a lot of games on the list seems to be there just as a cash grab because the developers think you're gonna think it's Pro Enhanced and you're gonna buy it. On the one end are games that might look worse on the PS5 Pro. I'm mainly talking about Ubisoft titles. There's Assassin's Creed Mirage, Star Wars Outlaws, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. A few weeks ago, these games no longer had that 30 FPS quality mode on the Pro. In fact, there was no graphic mode selection. Ubisoft thought they can deliver 60 FPS while making the game look as good as that 30 FPS quality mode. The thing is, PSSR makes these games look worse. You can clearly see quality mode on the base console as being sharper and better looking. Heck, even the 60 FPS performance mode arguably looks better on the base console versus the Pro. So Ubisoft recently released patches for some of their games, including Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws. They walked back on the decision of no graphic mode selection on the Pro, brought back both quality and performance modes with FSR upscaling. But the thing is, it seems like they still haven't figured out how to make PSSR look good. Another game that seems to look worse is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Silent Hill is another name. That game had issues initially at launch, but it's been patched up and now looks and runs a lot better on the Pro. There's also games in the middle of the pack that look exactly the same. NBA 2K25 is a good example. No improvements at all, even with that PS5 Pro Enhanced badge that they slapped on it. Same thing with EA Sports UFC 5. It's the same. No improvement once again, or not enough to convince anyone it's better. Heck, unless you have a large 4K OLED TV, a lot of these PS5 Pro Enhanced games are going to look exactly the same on the base and Pro console. It's harder to see any differences if you have a smaller or older TV, so you're going to need to spend some extra cash on actually getting a TV the Pro looks good on. Now let's get to the good part. Games that actually look better. There's a few of these. Stellar Blade is perhaps one of the better examples. God of War Ragnarok looks the same when you're standing still, but when you're actually moving around, the Pro looks a lot better. Both The Last of Us games, Part 1 and Part 2 remastered, look much better in performance mode. As you can see here, the difference is clear. With PSSR on the Pro, it's like playing in 60 FPS while looking almost as good as native 4K. Most of the comparisons online, including mine, are while you're actually standing still. But these standing still comparisons don't do PSSR justice. You really have to compare when moving around during gameplay. That's when you'll see the bigger difference of PSSR. Right here in Hogwarts Legacy performance mode, PSSR is making the image look a lot sharper, a lot cleaner. And because of this AI upscaling, it's now easier for developers to implement more advanced features like ray tracing on the PS5 Pro. You can see here the better shadows, water reflections on the Pro versus the base console. Graphics is one thing, but frame rate is also important for a lot of gamers. There's some games that struggled on the regular console. These couldn't reach a solid 60 FPS. Black Myth Wukong, even before it got the PS5 Pro patch, still managed to run higher FPS on the Pro. Here you can see Wukong running side by side on the base console versus the Pro, and the Pro's clearly higher even before that patch. Dragon's Dogma 2 can run in 120Hz mode on both consoles, and the PS5 Pro shows the clear advantage, the slightly higher FPS here. Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 is also going to give you 50 to 25 FPS higher when running the same settings on both consoles. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village do have a 120Hz mode that's exclusive to the Pro. That does run these games at over 100 FPS on the Pro, while on the base console you're going to be stuck at 60 FPS. Stellar Blade is another example. Here you can see that running 120Hz on the PS5 Pro as well. I talked about God of War earlier and how visually the developers just couldn't squeeze that much more out of it since it's so well optimized even on the regular console. Well, in 120Hz mode with an unlocked frame rate, the PS5 Pro does deliver higher frame rates and better performance, and it's going to look better with PSSR. Horizon Forbidden West sort of mirrors God of War Ragnarok as well. The FPS, the performance has a clear advantage on the PS5 Pro in that 120Hz mode. I'll mention Spider-Man 2 as well here. That actually runs about the same on the Pro in terms of the Mac FPS. In fact, there's times where the regular console has slightly higher FPS. But Spider-Man 2 is an odd one since I'm comparing the regular performance mode here to the Pro mode, which does use PSSR. A more fair comparison would have been the regular performance mode on the base console versus the regular performance mode on the Pro console, but the PS5 Pro doesn't have those regular fidelity and Pro modes for Spider-Man 2. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 also runs a higher and more stable FPS on the Pro. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the 120Hz campaign, higher numbers, more stability, and less screen tearing on the Pro. Another feature that's not talked about much is the PlayStation 4 Enhanced setting. This one's a hit and a miss. It depends on the game you're playing. There's no official list of games that support this feature. I was hoping the PS5 Pro somehow made Red Dead Redemption 2 look better, but it doesn't, because Red Dead 2 already renders and then upscales to 4K even on the PS4 Pro. So really, the benefit of this feature seems to be more for older games that run at 1080p or below. Games like Nier Replicant, Dragon Age Inquisition, those older titles look better and make good use of this feature. Since it's an image upscaling feature, even the user interface on those games benefits and looks sharper. Is this feature a game changer? No, not really, but it's a nice little bonus on the Pro. The last point I want to talk about is the PS5 Pro's physical form factor. The Pro looks just like any other PS5 really. If you were never a fan of the PS5's Wi-Fi router style look, you're also gonna hate this. Just like the older PS5, this also looks better vertically in my opinion. You can have it sitting vertically without a stand, but if you want that sleek and shiny looking stand, it's gonna cost you an extra $30. The faceplates on the Pro look the same as the Slim, but they're actually different. The top one's a bit bigger, the clips are in different spots, bottom covers are the same really, and so is the disk drive. It's the same disk drive as the Slim console. but you do need to spend that extra $80 to add that disk drive. So that's really everything you need to know about the PS5 Pro, with a lot of detail and some technical analysis to back up my points. I don't think it's worth the extra money for most that already have a base console. 80% of gamers won't appreciate or notice the difference at all. I mean, like I said, you do have to go out and buy a high-end TV for this. And for most gamers, really the base console is a bargain. I used to think the Xbox Series S is the best bargain in gaming, but now the PS5 Slim Digital, especially when it's on sale for $380, that's a bargain. Heck, you're better off getting the regular Slim with a disk drive. If you get a Pro without a drive, good luck finding a standalone drive at regular price. It also comes down to how you spend your money, how much you value it. For some, they don't care about the extra $250. They just want the latest and greatest PlayStation. I honestly do think the Pro Advantage is going to get better with newer games. I mean, so far, all we've seen is old games being PS5 Pro Enhanced. 2025 is really going to show us what the PS5 Pro is capable of. And I'm not a hater here. I actually think the PS5 Pro in 2025 is going to be worth that extra $250. Let me know what you think. Is it worth it for you to get one right now in 2025, maybe 2026, or are you just going to wait around for a PS6?